The space station was alive with activity, a constant hum of engines and chatter that seemed to echo through the long, metallic corridors. Humans were a rare sight here, most of the crew and visitors belonging to alien species of every imaginable shape and color. Jaren, a young human engineer, walked briskly along the observation deck, trying not to draw attention. His hands were tucked into the pockets of his utility jacket, and his eyes followed the swirl of stars outside the thick glass walls. Even after years in space, the sight never lost its wonder. But today, Jaren could feel a tension in the air that was different from the usual hustle of interstellar commerce and diplomacy. He had been working on a minor repair to one of the station's energy conduits when a loud announcement crackled through the speakers. The voice was unfamiliar, deep and commanding, in the primary language of the Zarinthians, the alien empire that dominated this sector of the galaxy. The words themselves were harsh and formal, but Jaren caught enough to understand the gist. The alien queen demanded a human representative in her court immediately. Jaren froze. A human? Him? The thought seemed absurd. Humans were known for their resourcefulness, yes, but in the eyes of the Zarinthian Empire they were still considered weak, inexperienced, and most importantly out of place in serious political affairs. The last time a human had been summoned by the Queen, centuries ago, the outcome had been disastrous. And yet here he was. Someone had chosen him, though he had no idea who or why. Within moments, 2 Zarinthian guards appeared at the entrance to the observation deck. Their crystalline skin shimmered in the artificial light, reflecting hues of deep violet and silver. They were enormous, each easily twice Jaren's height, their limbs angular and precise, their faces a mask of authority and cold indifference. "Jaren, follow," one of them commanded, the words sharp like glass. There was no room for argument. He swallowed hard, heart hammering in his chest, and nodded. He followed them through the station, feeling the curious eyes of every passerby on him. Many whispered in tones he didn't understand, casting glances that ranged from suspicion to amusement. As they led him through the grand corridors, he couldn't help but notice the sheer scale of the station. It was a marvel of engineering, with walls that pulsed softly with light and floors that seemed to float without visible support. Ships of countless species docked and undocked in the massive hangar below, their engines leaving trails of shimmering plasma. The station was a hub of interstellar politics, commerce, and intrigue, and Jaren was about to step into the center of it all. Finally, they arrived at a massive set of doors. Carvings of the Zarinthian royal insignia twisted and danced across their surface, glowing faintly. One of the guards placed a clawed hand on a sensor, and the doors slid open with a low hum. Jaren stepped inside and felt a chill run down his spine. The throne room was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was enormous, stretching hundreds of meters in every direction. The walls were made of the same crystalline material as the guards, and light refracted through it in dazzling patterns. At the far end of the room sat the alien queen herself. She was larger than any Zarinthian he had seen, her armor-like skin glinting like polished gemstones. Her eyes were pools of liquid silver, sharp and calculating, and her posture radiated power. Every being in the room seemed to shrink slightly in her presence, their heads bowed in respect, or perhaps fear. When Jaren entered, the murmurs grew louder. Whispers spread like wildfire, his human form a strange anomaly in the midst of so many alien figures. The Queen's gaze fixed on him, and he could feel the weight of it pressing against his chest. "Step forward, human," she commanded, her voice resonating through the hall like a drumbeat. Every eye in the room turned toward him. Jaren felt the room shrink around him, the air heavy and almost electric. He took a deep breath and walked forward, trying to appear calm, though his pulse raced in his ears. As he approached the throne, the Queen's expression hardened. She leaned slightly forward, and her gaze pierced him. Jaren felt as though she was looking into his very thoughts. The whispers stopped. The room was silent, every being frozen, waiting for what would happen next. "You have been sent here," she said, her voice both thunderous and measured. "But I wonder, why you human, why not one of the others?" I am not sure, Your Majesty," he said carefully. "Perhaps someone believed I could help. I am willing to listen and serve in any way I can." They spread lies and provoke conflicts, using humans as convenient scapegoats. Your perspective, your ability to see patterns that others cannot. I do not ask for your strength or your weapons. I ask for your insight. He nodded, trying to mask the nervousness he felt. "I will do my best, Your Majesty," he said. "I promise to be honest and thorough." "Your human perspective may prove invaluable," if you are capable of keeping your wits about you. He had navigated the complexities of engineering starships and managing human crews, but this was a realm of uncertainty where a single misjudgment could end disastrously. "Follow me," the Queen said, rising from her throne. Her movements were fluid, almost mesmerizing, and despite her size and power, there was an elegance to every gesture. "You will meet those who serve me. Observe them. Learn them, and above all, do not underestimate the human mind or the human heart." He was human, yes, and fragile compared to these alien beings, but he carried something they often underestimated: resilience, adaptability, and ingenuity. As they reached a private chamber, the Queen stopped. "Here," she said, gesturing toward a small table covered with holographic maps and data streams. "Study this. Learn the alliances and the threats. Understand the patterns. And remember, human, I will be watching." This was not just survival. It was an opportunity to prove the value of humanity in a galaxy that often dismissed them. Hours passed as he pored over the data, the hum of the station outside fading into the background. The Queen's words echoed in his mind. "Do not underestimate the human mind or the human heart." He realized that this was not just about intelligence. It was about understanding motives, predicting actions, and finding solutions where others saw only obstacles. By the time he finally looked up, the Queen was watching him silently, her eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and challenge. "You have potential, human," she said softly, almost as if speaking to herself. "Perhaps you are more than they believe you to be." The alien Queen had called him forward in rage, expecting confrontation, but instead, she had found a mind willing to rise to the challenge. The question now was whether he could navigate the storm that was about to engulf him, and whether the galaxy would ever see humans the same way again. The next morning, the palace corridors were even more intimidating than the day before. Jaren had spent the night trying to process everything he had seen: the vast throne room, the shimmering walls, and most importantly, the alien Queen herself. Her words echoed in his mind. "Do not underestimate the human mind or the human heart." He had no idea what she truly expected from him, but he knew it would not be easy. As he walked to the chamber where he had studied the maps the night before, he felt the weight of the palace around him. The walls pulsed with a faint light, and the air carried the scent of something sharp and metallic, a fragrance that seemed unique to the Zarinthian Empire. The guards, towering and crystalline, flanked him as usual, their eyes scanning every corner, every shadow. Jaren had learned to move calmly, even when his heart raced. When he entered the chamber, he found the Queen already there, standing silently beside the data streams. She did not speak at first, simply observing him as if measuring his reactions. Jaren felt a chill, but he did not flinch. Instead, he focused on the maps before him, pretending to study them, though his mind was aware of her gaze. "You understand what this represents?" she asked finally, her voice calm but laced with steel. "Yes, Your Majesty," Jaren replied carefully. "These maps show the alliances within your empire, the trade routes, and the political connections between the different factions. You do not belong here in the midst of such power and danger. Tell me, do you truly understand what is at stake? Do you think these qualities alone are enough to survive here?" Then, almost imperceptibly, a hint of something crossed her face, a mixture of curiosity and intrigue. "Perhaps that is why you are here." "Your Majesty," he said, voice trembling slightly, "the Council has requested a meeting. They wish to discuss the recent irregularities. It is urgent." As they moved through the palace, he noted the expressions on the faces of the courtiers. Many stared openly at him, curiosity mingled with skepticism. A human in the inner circle of the alien Queen was almost unheard of. Some whispered, clearly unconvinced that he belonged there. Others seemed to recognize something different in him, a spark of potential. The council chamber was enormous, though far smaller than the throne room. Around a long, angular table sat the council members, each representing different factions within the empire. Their faces were stern and their eyes cold. When the Queen and Jaren entered, a hush fell over the room. "Sit," the Queen commanded. She gestured to a space beside her reserved for Jaren. Murmurs rippled through the council, but none dared challenge her directly. Jaren sat, feeling the weight of hundreds of years of political tension pressing down on him. One of the council members, a tall figure with silver skin that shimmered like quicksilver, leaned forward. "Your Majesty," he said smoothly, "we must address the human presence in the palace. It is unusual, to say the least. Is it wise to involve one of their kind in matters of state?" His voice was calm, but it carried a firmness that surprised even him. "With respect, Your Majesty, and to the Council," he said, "sometimes an outside perspective can reveal problems that insiders overlook. I do not claim to know everything, but I can see connections and threats that might otherwise remain hidden." But the Queen simply looked at him, her gaze unyielding. "Very well," she said. "Human, explain what you see." Messages had been intercepted, miscommunications deliberately caused, and trade routes disrupted. Someone was working from the shadows, manipulating events for personal gain. "I have been analyzing the patterns of communication and resource movement within the Empire," he began. "There are factions that are deliberately creating tension, spreading misinformation, and positioning themselves to take advantage of conflict. Their actions suggest a coordinated effort to weaken the throne and consolidate power for themselves." "You are saying that there are traitors within the Empire?" one of the members demanded, voice tinged with disbelief. "Yes," Jaren said simply, "and their methods are subtle. They exploit the natural rivalries between factions, making it appear as though the Empire itself is unstable. But if we look at the patterns carefully, we can identify the source and prevent the plan from succeeding. It seems that humans are not as simple as many believe. You may have underestimated your own species, human. Perhaps I did as well. We face a threat that is invisible to many, yet deadly. We must act carefully, decisively, and with unity. The Council will assist in gathering evidence, but the human will guide us in identifying the conspirators." Jaren noticed subtle shifts in the room, some eyes wary, some calculating, others openly resentful. Politics was a dangerous game, and he had only just entered the board. Over the next several hours, he observed carefully, asking questions and analyzing responses. He noticed patterns in speech, in hesitation, in subtle gestures that indicated deeper alliances and hidden intentions. The more he watched, the more he understood the precarious balance of power within the Empire. At one point, a council member attempted to mislead him, presenting false information to cover their tracks. Jaren remained calm, carefully comparing the data with what he had already observed. He asked a series of pointed questions, and eventually the deception became clear. The room fell silent as the truth became obvious, and the council member could only lower their head in embarrassment. The Queen's gaze met his, and for the first time there was a faint hint of approval. "Well done, human," she said quietly. "You are learning quickly. This is the type of insight that can change the course of history." As the meeting ended, the Queen turned to him. "You have done well today, human, but this is only the beginning. The forces at work are cunning, and they will not hesitate to strike if they perceive weakness. You must remain vigilant, learn quickly, and continue to see what others cannot." He understood that survival in the palace required more than intelligence. It required patience, courage, and the ability to anticipate the unexpected. He was human, and in this empire that underestimated his kind, that very fact could be his greatest advantage. As he left the council chamber, escorted back through the grand corridors, he felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. He was standing at the edge of a storm, and the alien queen had placed him directly in its path. Yet beneath the fear there was a deep sense of purpose. He could make a difference here. He could show that humans, though small and seemingly fragile, possessed qualities unmatched by other species: ingenuity, courage, and an unwavering spirit. The palace seemed different now, not just a place of power, but a battlefield of minds and hearts. And Jaren knew that he had taken the first step into a world where every observation, every choice, every insight could change the fate of the Empire. Somewhere deep within the Zarinthian court, whispers of astonishment and disbelief spread. A human had entered the inner circle, not as a servant, not as a soldier, but as a mind capable of seeing what the Empire itself had overlooked. The question on everyone's lips was the same. Could this human truly influence the fate of the Zarinthian Empire, or would he be crushed under the weight of its politics and power? Jaren did not have the answer yet. But he was ready to face the challenge. He was human, and that alone he knew could make all the difference. The days that followed were filled with tension and observation. Jaren had settled into a routine, one that was far from ordinary. Each morning, he studied maps, data streams, and communications logs, looking for patterns that might reveal the hidden threats within the Empire. Each afternoon, he accompanied the Queen to meetings, listening carefully to advisors and council members, analyzing their words, their pauses, and their gestures. It was exhausting, but Jaren had learned early in life that humans thrived on challenges. He had faced far more dangerous situations on engineering missions and starship repairs, yet nothing compared to the weight of influencing the fate of an empire. The Queen observed him closely during these days, her presence both intimidating and instructive. She rarely spoke directly to him outside of formal meetings, yet her gaze seemed to follow him everywhere. Jaren had begun to notice subtle changes in her demeanor. At times, she seemed curious, even thoughtful, as if weighing his insights against centuries of experience. Other times, her expression hardened, her eyes sharp with suspicion, reminding him that she was still the ruler of one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. One evening, as the twin moons of the Zarinthian capital cast a pale glow through the palace windows, the Queen summoned Jaren to a private chamber. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of energy flowing through the walls, and the air was tinged with the metallic scent he had grown accustomed to. Jaren stepped forward, bowing slightly in respect. "Human," the Queen began, her voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of urgency, "the situation has grown more serious. The Council is divided, and certain members are becoming bold in their manipulations. They are testing our resolve, seeking to exploit any hesitation. I require you to take a more active role. I am ready to assist in any way I can. I promise to be careful and thorough. I will learn quickly, and I will act decisively when the time comes. Perhaps that is why you are valuable here. You will attend the next council session, not as a mere observer, but as an active participant. Speak only when necessary and always with precision. Your goal is to uncover the conspirators before they act." From the moment he entered the chamber, he noticed subtle changes in the council members' behavior. Some avoided his gaze, clearly wary of his presence. Others attempted to assert dominance, speaking loudly and confidently, as if trying to intimidate him. Jaren remained calm, carefully noting every detail. The session began with routine discussions of trade, defense, and resource allocation. But Jaren's attention was focused elsewhere. He observed the slight hesitation in a council member's voice when discussing troop movements. He noticed a faint smirk on another's face when talking about communication channels. Patterns emerged, subtle but undeniable, pointing to coordination among certain factions. At one point, a council member presented data suggesting that a neighboring system was preparing for war. Jaren noticed an inconsistency in the transmission logs. He raised a hand, hesitating only briefly before speaking. "Your Majesty," he said, "these transmissions appear to have been altered. The information may be deliberately misleading." Every pair of eyes turned to him. The council member who had presented the data glared, but the Queen raised a hand, signaling him to continue. "Upon closer examination," Jaren continued, "the timing and content of the messages suggest a coordinated effort to provoke a conflict that benefits certain factions within the Empire. This may be an attempt to manipulate your decisions, Your Majesty. Their goal appears to be creating tension between different sectors of the Empire, which would allow them to consolidate power while the rest of the Council is distracted." The Queen remained silent, studying the reactions of every member carefully. Finally, she spoke. "You see now why the human is here. Their perspective is not bound by tradition or fear. They see the patterns we may overlook. Council, take note. We will act with caution, but we will not be deceived. I rely on evidence. The patterns are clear to anyone who looks carefully. Ignoring them will only allow the conspirators to act unchecked." Then louder, she addressed the council. "We will investigate these claims thoroughly. Human, you will lead this effort. You will identify the individuals involved and expose their plans before they can harm the Empire." For the first time in his life, he was not just reacting to circumstances. He was shaping events that could alter the course of history. Over the next several days, Jaren worked tirelessly. He analyzed communications, monitored troop movements, and cross-referenced supply chains. He asked questions, carefully observing how council members responded. He noticed subtle tells, pauses, gestures, changes in tone that revealed alliances and hidden agendas. His human intuition, combined with careful logic, allowed him to uncover connections that the alien council had overlooked. One evening, while reviewing intercepted communications, he discovered a plan that chilled him. A group within the council intended to sabotage a critical supply shipment to a distant system, creating the appearance of incompetence by the Queen's administration. If successful, this act would provide justification for the conspirators to seize control under the guise of protecting the Empire. Jaren knew immediate action was required. He approached the Queen privately, presenting his findings. Your Majesty, the conspirators plan to sabotage the supply shipment. If we do not act, it will be blamed on your leadership, and the Council may use it as a pretext to overthrow you. Most would have missed the subtle cues. Human, your insight is invaluable. Prepare a strategy to counter their actions. We must act swiftly. Jaren coordinated with loyal officers and trusted members of the Council, ensuring that the operation remained secret. The following day, as the conspirators' plan unfolded, it quickly became clear that their plot had failed. The shipment arrived safely at its destination, and the manipulated evidence pointed directly back to the traitors. The council members involved were stunned, their confidence shattered. The Queen called an emergency session, presenting the proof gathered by Jaren. The room erupted in chaos. Some council members tried to defend themselves, but the evidence was irrefutable. Jaren's careful observations and analysis had revealed the full extent of their scheme. The Queen's fury, once simmering, now burned with controlled intensity. She addressed the council with authority that left no room for argument. You have betrayed the trust of this empire, she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. Your actions will not go unpunished. Human, your vigilance has saved the empire from chaos. The council will remember this day. For the first time, Jaren felt a deep sense of belonging in this alien court. He was not just a guest or an observer. He was a participant, a force capable of influencing outcomes in ways no one had anticipated. The Queen's trust in him had grown, and with it, his own confidence in his abilities. As he left the council chamber that evening, escorted back through the palace corridors, he realized that the challenge was far from over. The conspirators had been exposed, but others might still be working in the shadows. Every interaction, every decision, every observation could reveal another threat. But Jaren also knew something important. Humans were often underestimated, and that underestimation was their greatest advantage. He had proven that intelligence, observation, and empathy could rival even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. And in a palace filled with intrigue, ambition, and hidden danger, that was a power worth more than any weapon. For the first time, the alien Queen's fury had transformed into cautious respect. She had called him forward in rage, expecting confrontation. But instead, she had found a mind capable of understanding and countering the hidden threats within her empire. Jaren knew that the path ahead would be difficult, but he also knew that he had earned a place where humans were seen not as weak outsiders, but as allies whose unique strengths could tip the balance of power. And so, in the quiet moments of the palace, as the twin moons cast their pale glow across the corridors, Jaren prepared himself for the challenges yet to come. The conspirators had been revealed, but the game of politics was far from over. And as long as he remained vigilant, thoughtful, and brave, he would continue to prove that humanity had a place in the heart of the Zarinthian Empire. The palace had grown quieter in the days following the exposure of the conspirators. The council members who had been caught in the act were confined to secure quarters while investigations continued. Jaren moved through the corridors with a careful awareness that every glance and whisper could carry meaning. Even in moments of calm, he understood that the game of politics within the Zarinthian Empire never truly paused. There was always another challenge, another hidden threat waiting to emerge. The Queen summoned him early one morning, her presence radiating the same intensity that had first startled him when he entered her throne room. Her eyes, silver and penetrating, held a mixture of curiosity and trust, a combination he had not expected to see in an alien ruler. Human, she said, her voice steady but firm. The conspirators were only the beginning. Others are observing, waiting for weakness. You must prepare for what is coming. I wish to test your judgment further. There is a diplomatic mission to a neighboring system. You will accompany me. It will not be simple. Alliances are delicate, and the leaders of this system are unpredictable. Your perspective may be invaluable in negotiations. This was an opportunity not only to assist the Queen, but also to demonstrate the adaptability and ingenuity of humans. He had spent his life solving complex problems under pressure, and now his skills would be tested in diplomacy, strategy, and observation. The journey to the neighboring system was long, allowing Jaren time to study the available intelligence. The system was known for its volatile political climate, with multiple factions vying for control and influence. Trade agreements were fragile, and tensions often erupted into conflicts over the slightest misunderstanding. Jaren reviewed reports of previous negotiations, noting the subtle signals that indicated deception or hidden motives. When the Queen's ship entered the system, they were greeted with a mixture of ceremonial honors and cautious skepticism. The alien leaders had heard of the human accompanying the Queen, and reactions varied from curiosity to outright disbelief. Many underestimated him, assuming that a human could offer little value in such complex matters. Jaren, however, understood that this underestimation was an advantage he could use strategically. During the first council session with the leaders of the neighboring system, the discussions quickly became tense. Trade disputes, resource allocations, and defense obligations were debated fiercely. Jaren observed the body language and tone of every participant, noting subtle cues that indicated hidden agendas. One faction leader consistently avoided direct answers when questioned about troop deployments, while another offered overly generous trade terms that seemed designed to create dependency. Jaren raised his hand cautiously, and the Queen gave a subtle nod. "Your Majesty, if I may," he began, his voice calm but confident. "I believe some of the proposals may conceal intentions that could destabilize the system. By addressing these subtle cues, we can prevent misunderstandings and ensure that the agreements reflect genuine cooperation rather than manipulation." Some leaders looked startled, others skeptical, but the Queen's expression remained calm, her gaze fixed on him. "Explain," she commanded. Jaren outlined his observations, highlighting inconsistencies in the statements and the subtle signals that indicated hidden motives. He suggested alternative approaches, ways to ask precise questions that could reveal true intentions without causing offense. The alien leaders listened carefully, some nodding reluctantly, others frowning as they realized their strategies were being challenged. By the end of the session, a tentative agreement was reached that addressed both trade and defense concerns, while minimizing opportunities for deception. Jaren's insights had helped the Queen navigate a delicate political landscape with precision, earning cautious respect from the alien leaders. After the session, the Queen led him to a quiet observation deck overlooking the system's largest city. The twin suns bathed the buildings in golden light, and the bustling activity below offered a reminder of the stakes involved in leadership and diplomacy. "You performed well today," the Queen said quietly. "Your ability to read motives, anticipate actions, and suggest strategies is impressive. I am beginning to see why humans are valuable beyond strength or technology." "There is more to being human than logic or observation," she said softly. "You possess courage, resilience, and adaptability, qualities that many alien species underestimate. These qualities may prove critical in the challenges ahead." He learned to anticipate hidden agendas, recognize subtle manipulations, and suggest solutions that balanced multiple interests. With each success, his confidence grew, as did the Queen's trust in him. One evening, while reviewing intelligence reports, Jaren noticed a troubling pattern. Communications between certain factions within the neighboring system and unknown agents within the Zarinthian Empire suggested that not all conspirators had been exposed. Some were working quietly, using the chaos of diplomacy to position themselves for future advantage. He brought the findings to the Queen. "Your Majesty, I believe there are still individuals working in secret. They may be using the current negotiations to strengthen their influence and prepare for another attempt at destabilization." Jaren suggested a series of discreet intelligence-gathering operations, using both technological surveillance and careful observation of behavior. The Queen approved, and they began implementing the plan, ensuring that loyal officers were strategically positioned to report any suspicious activity. Over the next several days, Jaren worked closely with the Queen and her trusted advisors. They uncovered a network of agents attempting to manipulate trade, spread misinformation, and influence key decisions within the neighboring system. Each discovery strengthened Jaren's understanding of alien politics and the importance of human intuition in navigating complex situations. One night, as they reviewed the latest intelligence, the Queen spoke quietly. "You have proven yourself invaluable, human. The Council members and foreign leaders may underestimate you, but I see your potential. You have the mind to anticipate threats and the courage to act decisively. This is a rare combination. I have learned much, but I know there is still more to understand." Human ingenuity, observation, and empathy had proven crucial in navigating the intricate web of alien politics. He had gained the trust of the Queen, earned the respect of some foreign leaders, and uncovered hidden threats that might have gone unnoticed by others. Upon returning to the palace, Jaren was greeted with a mixture of curiosity and cautious admiration. Word of his contributions during the mission had spread quickly. While some council members remained wary, others began to recognize the value of a human mind in a world dominated by alien intelligence and tradition. The Queen summoned him to her private chambers once again. She regarded him with a mixture of approval and contemplation. "You have exceeded my expectations, human. Your insight has prevented conflict, exposed hidden threats, and strengthened our position within the Empire. I see now that humans possess qualities that cannot be measured by strength or technology alone. Your service is only beginning. The conspirators we exposed may have allies still at large, and other threats are inevitable. But your success here has demonstrated that humans can be more than outsiders. They can be partners, strategists, and protectors of the Empire." The path ahead would be difficult, filled with political intrigue, hidden dangers, and unforeseen challenges. But he had proven that humans, often underestimated by other species, possessed unique qualities, creativity, adaptability, courage, that could influence events on a galactic scale. For the first time, Jaren understood the true meaning of the Queen's words when she first called him forward in anger. He had been thrust into a world of power and danger, yet he had not faltered. His mind and his human perspective had earned the respect of one of the galaxy's most powerful rulers. And as the twin moons cast their pale light across the palace corridors, he knew that the influence of humanity was only beginning to be recognized within the Zarinthian Empire. He was ready for the challenges that lay ahead, determined to continue proving that humans were not just survivors, but thinkers, leaders, and allies capable of shaping the course of history. The game of politics, strategy, and trust was far from over, but Jaren was no longer merely a human in the alien court. He was a force to be reckoned with, a mind capable of guiding the Empire through its trials. And somewhere in the heart of the palace, the alien queen watched, her respect for the human growing with each passing day, knowing that his presence had changed her perception of humanity forever. The palace was alive with quiet tension. Word of Jaren's successes in diplomacy and intelligence had spread, and the council and court were aware that a human had played a crucial role in safeguarding the Empire. Yet, despite the exposure of many conspirators and the prevention of immediate threats, Jaren knew the danger had not ended. Hidden forces still lingered, waiting for the right moment to act. Every glance, every whispered conversation, and every subtle gesture could reveal the next move of those who sought to undermine the Queen. The alien queen summoned him early in the morning. The throne room, usually suffused with the soft glow of crystalline walls, felt charged with energy, almost electric. Jaren entered, bowing as was customary. The queen's eyes, silver and unyielding, fixed on him. "Human," she said, her voice calm but edged with authority, "the situation grows more dangerous. Some conspirators we exposed were part of a larger network. Their influence stretches beyond what we have identified. You will lead the effort to uncover and neutralize these remaining threats. I will do everything I can to ensure the safety of the Empire. Some of these forces will not hesitate to strike if they feel threatened." Subtle patterns emerged: falsified trade requests, suspicious communications, and irregular troop movements. Each clue led him closer to the individuals who remained hidden in the shadows. The Queen observed his work closely, often asking questions that tested his understanding of alien politics and strategy. She had grown to trust him not only for his intellect, but also for his human intuition, a quality few in her empire possessed. Jaren realized that his ability to predict motives, combined with careful analysis, allowed him to see solutions that others overlooked. One afternoon, as he reviewed intercepted communications, he discovered a plot that could destabilize the Empire if left unchecked. Several factions were planning a coordinated strike on a critical supply hub, intending to frame loyal officers and create the appearance of incompetence in the Queen's administration. If successful, it would justify an immediate coup and plunge the Empire into chaos. Jaren immediately brought the findings to the Queen. "Your Majesty, I believe this network intends to strike at the supply hub. Their goal is to create confusion and blame loyal officers, thereby giving them leverage to seize power." Jaren suggested a multi-layered approach. Reroute the supplies through secure channels, deploy loyal forces to monitor the facility, and set a trap that would reveal the identities of the conspirators. The Queen approved the plan, and loyal officers were discreetly positioned to carry out the operation. The operation required precise timing and coordination. Jaren oversaw communications, ensuring that each detail was accounted for. He checked and double-checked schedules, troop positions, and resource allocations, aware that even a minor error could allow the conspirators to succeed. His human ingenuity and adaptability proved invaluable as he adjusted plans in real time to counter unexpected developments. When the day of the operation arrived, tension gripped the palace. The supply hub was secured, and the conspirators moved into position, unaware that their actions were being monitored. Jaren and the Queen watched from the control room as events unfolded. Subtle signals, delayed transmissions, misaligned troop movements, and nervous gestures confirmed his suspicions. At the precise moment, loyal forces intervened. The conspirators' plans unraveled, their efforts exposed to the Council and the Queen. The room where they had gathered was surrounded, their communications blocked, and their escape routes cut off. It was a flawless execution, a combination of intelligence, observation, and decisive action. The Queen addressed the Council immediately after the operation, presenting the evidence that Jaren had gathered. The conspirators were exposed, their influence broken, and the Empire's stability preserved. The Council was stunned, not only by the thoroughness of the operation, but also by the revelation that a human had played a central role in its success. "You see now why the human is here," the Queen said, her voice resonant and commanding. "Their insight, courage, and adaptability have saved this empire. Those who underestimated them must recognize that value is not measured by size, strength, or tradition, but by the mind and the heart that guides action." Many council members were in disbelief, others in awe. Jaren remained calm, his focus on observing the reactions, understanding that every gesture and word now carried meaning in this delicate political landscape. The Queen's respect for him was clear, and with it, a shift in perception throughout the court began. The conspirators, now apprehended, were brought before the council. Some attempted to defend their actions, claiming misunderstanding or miscommunication, but the evidence was undeniable. Communications logs, intercepted orders, and behavior patterns all pointed directly to their involvement. Jaren's analysis had left no room for doubt. The Queen's verdict was swift and decisive. "You have betrayed the trust of this empire. Your actions endangered countless lives and threatened the stability of the realm. You will face the consequences of your choices. Human, your vigilance has ensured justice is served." A human, once considered an outsider, had outmaneuvered seasoned political operatives, uncovered a complex conspiracy, and safeguarded the empire. The realization was humbling for many, and a profound respect began to take root. After the council session, the Queen summoned Jaren to her private chambers. The atmosphere was calm, yet charged with unspoken acknowledgement. "You have done more than I imagined possible, human," she said quietly. "Not only did you uncover the conspirators, but you also demonstrated that humans possess qualities that can rival any alien skill: ingenuity, courage, and empathy. You have proven that we should not underestimate your species. I only sought to do what was necessary to protect the Empire. I am honored that my efforts have been of value. This is a lesson the Empire will not forget." Jaren himself was learning as much as he taught. He observed the subtleties of alien diplomacy, the hidden motives behind every gesture, and the intricate network of alliances that defined the Empire. His human traits, intuition, creativity, and adaptability, became tools that allowed him to navigate this complex world with skill. One evening, as he walked through the palace gardens under the soft glow of the twin moons, he reflected on how far he had come. When the Queen had first called him forward in rage, he had felt fear, uncertainty, and the weight of expectations. Yet now he had earned a place where his mind mattered, where his perspective was valued, and where humanity's potential had been recognized on a galactic scale. The Queen appeared beside him silently, her presence as commanding as ever, yet softened by respect and trust. "You have done well, human," she said. "You have proven that courage and intellect, guided by empathy and determination, can shape the fate of empires. The court and I will not forget this lesson. The galaxy is vast, and threats will continue to emerge. But now humans are seen not as outsiders, but as allies. Your actions have changed that perception. Remember this, human. Strength is not always measured by size or power, but by courage, insight, and the willingness to act when others hesitate. He understood that his journey was far from over, yet he also knew that humanity had earned recognition in a universe that had long underestimated them. His mind, his courage, and his adaptability had proven themselves not only to the alien queen, but to the empire itself. In the days that followed, the council continued to operate with renewed stability, the threat of conspiracies diminished, and the empire strengthened. Jaren's presence remained a symbol of human potential, a living proof that even in the vast expanse of the galaxy, the human mind and heart could shape events in ways no one had anticipated. The palace, once a place of intimidation and danger, had become a ground where humans were valued not for strength alone, but for intelligence, empathy, and courage. And Jaren, standing at the heart of it all, knew that this was a victory not just for himself, but for every human who would follow. The alien queen, observing him silently from her throne, allowed herself a rare smile. A human had risen where many expected weakness. A human had changed the course of the empire. And in doing so, humanity had earned a place in the hearts and minds of a galaxy that had long underestimated it. Jaren, looking out over the bustling city below the palace, felt a sense of quiet pride and anticipation. Challenges would continue to arise, but now the galaxy knew that humans were not to be dismissed. They were thinkers, strategists, and protectors. They were capable of rising to meet threats and shaping the course of history. And somewhere in the depths of the Zarinthian Empire, whispers spread of the human who had stood beside the alien queen, who had exposed conspiracies, and who had demonstrated the true strength of humanity. The story would endure, a testament to courage, intelligence, and the unyielding spirit of a species once underestimated, but now recognized for its extraordinary potential. Jaren turned back toward the palace, ready for whatever challenges the future might bring. He had proven that humans could stand among the galaxy's most powerful beings, not as servants or outsiders, but as allies whose minds and hearts could change the fate of worlds. And in that realization, he found purpose, pride, and the certainty that humanity's story in the stars was only beginning.